at 989-752-6111. But at the encouragement of a listener who wanted to know if I could get a hold of Dr. Tim Nash from Northwood, I called Tim, and he's available for a few minutes this morning. He has another obligation coming up in a little bit. But we say good morning to Dr. Tim Nash. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Art. Always great to be with you, my friend.
Well, thank you. So I have to ask, from an economic standpoint, how concerned are you about this tariff situation, a potential trade war, and the American economy, recession, all of those things? Where does it stack up from where you sit?
Well, I in the last month, I've gone from maybe a 20% chance of recession in 2025 to, I won't say 100%, as some of the big brokerage houses are arguing, but I'd say there's a highly likely chance that we'll be in recession by the end of the year if things don't change. And, if you look at just the last couple of days, not including today, which is down again, but the last 2 days of last week, we erased about probably $5.5 to $6.5 trillion from the U.S. economy, and it's now over $10 trillion so far this year. And why that's so important is because of the wealth effect. I'm making a lot of money. Maybe I'm not, but my investments are going up, so I may spend a little bit more. I may take another vacation because I know the wealth is there. But now as my wealth backs off, I may not buy that new car. I may not buy that new home. I won't use those credit cards. I won't go on vacation. So you're starting to see the economy slowing because the wealth that we have in stocks by our IRAs, our savings accounts, our 401ks has all taken a major hit in the last couple of days, but certainly over the last year.
So what do you think of tariffs as a trade tool and as a negotiating tool?
I have two feelings on them, Art. Number one, I certainly have been arguing for decades, probably a few times in your show, that we need to use things like trade devices, the national defense argument, to rein in China. China violates our intellectual property. We allow China to trade on our stock exchanges without meeting the generally accepted accounting principles that all American companies have to meet. So we need to use trade and the national defense argument, as Milton Friedman used to argue, on countries like China. On the other side of the coin, for most countries, I don't think that tariffs work. And I'm going to give you a real quick example. In 1980, a cell phone cost between $4,000 and $6,000. Today, that same cell phone, adjusted for inflation, would be $12,000 to $18,000. The cell phone costs $100 a month for service. That'd be $300 today. In 1985, that cell phone, the monthly service did not include the fact that there was also 50 cents to $1 per minute of use. Now today, because we outsourced cell phones and we got a much lower price, cell phones are between $200, $300 and $800 for 90% or more of the cell phones. Why is that important? It's important for two things. One, in 1985, less than 1% of Americans had a cell phone. Today, about 98% of all Americans have a cell phone, and most of them are smartphones. You can text, you can email, you can do video chats, you can do spreadsheets, write a report, prepare PowerPoint slides, a whole myriad of things you can do today. In 1985, it was a brick with buttons, and you could only make and receive calls, and you usually had to be outside.
Yep.
So my point is, everybody has a cell phone, including poor people, but all the technology, the cell phone towers, the satellites, that not just power our cell phones, but around the world generate millions of jobs and billions of income for the U.S. economy and GDP. that we forget that's happening only because we have free trade. We don't produce that product anymore, but we are so much better off, and the world is better off because somebody else is making cell phones. It applies to laptops. It applies to personal computers. It applies to television sets, etc.
Here's the question, though, Tim. I hear the word free trade. We as a nation seem to be very good at negotiating free trade. We're not very good at negotiating fair trade. Am I wrong?
Well, here's what I would say to you. To a certain degree, you're absolutely right. But again, you wouldn't have the examples I just mentioned. Poor people. There's not many poor people I know that don't have a cell phone and aren't much better off.
Right.
So is that fair trade versus free trade? But the other side of the coin, even looking at the president's documents, Art, last Wednesday, Trade.gov, which is the trade representative of the United States' website, President Trump's trade representative website, it said that if we ship goods and services to Switzerland, there's a 1.7% tariff on American goods and services going into Switzerland. Then the president presents some charts, which most economists I know can't quite understand. It doesn't include services. By definition, the balance of trade is goods and services, and it claims that Switzerland puts a 61% tariff on the United States. It's just not true.
I don't know the answer. I don't think I have great respect for your profession, but I think you guys are scratching your heads too, aren't you?
No, absolutely. And Art, I voted for President Trump 3 times. I agree with him on tax policy. I agree with him on regulatory policy. I agree with him on reducing the size and scope of government and making it more efficient. I agree with him tightening up the border. I generally agree it's not my forte, but from what I understand about the Middle East, Russia and Ukraine, China and Taiwan, there's so many things I agree with him on. I just don't see the logic of tariffs, especially the size and scope that we're looking at today.
That's the big thing, isn't the size and scope of them. I mean, it's one thing to individualize a tariff for a particular nation and deal with that nation. It's another thing to just take a big blanket and throw it over the world. I don't think anybody can predict what the end's going to be on this.
I could not agree with you more. And, the markets are backing off a little bit from where they opened today and where they were in the futures.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Hopefully, actually. I'm sorry?
Quite a bit, actually. I see they're down.
Yeah.
They're actually up. Dow Jones Industrial at the moment is up 548 points. That's it was negative 5. It was negative 8 when I looked the last time.
And what I think is happening behind the scenes is that cooler heads are prevailing, and we're going to have a great victory is going to be declared, and we're going to bring more logic and less of a widespread to these tariffs. That's my hope. That's what I prayed for, and
well, considering considering that the market at one time topped out near 46,000, and you look at it now at 38.8, it's not a bad time to at least think about buying, is it?
It's not at all.
If you got the money.
And I'll tell you what. and I'll tell you what. You look at right now at the current price of Dow Chemical at an almost 10% dividend. Boy, what a great buy I think Dow could be.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where it's all going to go, but we'll give it some time and see what happens. And let's plan on getting together here in the near future and
Sounds
dissecting
good, my friend.
it.
Always a pleasure being with you. Take care.
Tim, thanks for the time this morning. Appreciate it. Take care.
You are welcome, Art. All the best. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye now. Dr. Tim Nash, just thought we'd get his thoughts up front, suggested by a listener, and a good idea, actually. But, yeah, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has reversed. It is now up 548. Whoops, now it's only up 141. In that split second, it went down almost 400 points. It's a really unbelievable movement in the marketplace. You just don't know where it's going to be. Take a break, come back. Again, it's open phones. We'll get to Jeff in Bay City when we return.
Warmer weather is hopefully on its
here on WSGW, and let's get back to our phones in Bay City. We have Jeff this morning. Jeff, good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Art. I'm very optimistic, and I think we're heading in the right direction. And it could be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but, you know, the stock market in reality is legalized gambling.
Yeah,
There's always
that's right.
risks. There's always involvement.
Let me point that out, because earlier, in talking to Dr. Nash, I said, wow, the market recovered, and it was up 248. In the few minutes since I said that, it's now down 420. So, yeah, gambling is a good word for it.
Right, and it does. It goes up and down, but that's not the overall picture. When you have a good, and I say, hey, Art, you know, we could sell your cookies here in the United States, and I allow you to bring them here, and I don't charge you no extra. It's like, hey, the cookie's this much, and I'm going to sell it with my coffee. And then when I come back, and I was like, you know what? If I sell my coffee in Art's Market, and then all of a sudden it's not just this fee for the coffee, all of a sudden I got to give extra in order to sell in your marketplace. And people have to start realizing that NAFTA and different things throughout the years, how bad it's impacted America, because we are not as safe as we used to be. World War II would not have been won if we didn't have our manufacturing. And where is our manufacturing?
Boy, that's the
especially
truth.
Just here in Saginaw. Nodular iron, what is it? Oh, it's a parking lot. You know, the old Means plant, oh, it's a parking lot. The Malibu plant, oh, there's another parking lot. You know, so bringing these jobs back, having people not be idle. Sure, it may help around the world, but another thing that people didn't realize is when back in the 80s and 90s, when people were having these jobs that were losing because they shipped them to other countries, the product didn't come back cheaper. The product came back at the same price. But all of a sudden, John Smith doesn't have health care for his 4 kids and his wife, you know, because he's not working now because the plant's gone.
Yep.
But all that money that got saved, we didn't see cars and certain items coming back, and all of a sudden it was stupid cheap. Yes, throughout the years, electronics have come down drastically from the old brick phone, as the other gentleman was talking. And just like TVs, you know, back in the 90s, you wanted to buy a 50, 60-inch TV, it was $3,000. Now you can go pick one up for $400 or $500, depending on you catch the sale or whatever.
Yep, absolutely.
But that is the difference. But for us not to be allowed in somebody's marketplace because the Cadillac, hypothetically, say that new car was $50,000, but you got to get $150 over in this country because of the tariff cost.
Here's the only thing about it.
Fair to us.
Let me pose this to you and see what you think. While I do agree with you, there needed to be a balance. Would it have been better to do it one country at a time, deal with each issue, the way, for example, he initially dealt with Mexico and Canada and got some results? Would he have been better off dealing with these one at a time rather than throwing a big blanket over the world and totally disrupting everything? That's my concern.
I don't believe that it's this big blanket. I believe it's a big bright light bulb that's saying, hey, we see what's going on, and it's not fair to us. All of a sudden,
I agree with that.
We're helping the entire world because for whatever reason, our country seems to spend more, or is it that other countries are so deprived that they won't allow them to step up? There's always going to be rich. There's always going to be poor, unfortunately. But I'd rather be the rich guy giving to the poor than to be the poor guy having to beg the rich.
Right. All right.
You know, and
well, time will tell. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I think this is all going to change real quick. And as over the weekend, you know, he said all these other countries started calling and reaching out. Yeah, why? Because they already know. And, you know, they had an opportunity to be fair. Yeah. And they chose to keep riding it out.
Well, and that's the key. If we get fairness and we get it quickly, all this will be worth it. So we'll see what happens.
For sure.
Time will
I think
tell.
it's going to.
All right,
All
Jeff.
right. Thanks, Art.
Great. Thanks
Have
for
a good
calling.
one.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
By the way, the market is tumbled some more. It's down 726 right now. And here's Russ in Bay City. Russ, good morning.
Good morning, Art. What I see is the investor class panicking that they're losing their slaves. They have thoroughly enjoyed for the last 20 years or so using slaves in China to build their goods. Tim Cook.
All right, well, hang on a second. Hang on a second, Russ. You used a term that maybe you shouldn't have used.
What's that?
The investor class. Because the investor class is everybody. If you got a 401k,
No, it's not.
Beg to differ with you. If you got a 401k, if you got a 401k like many people today, you're part of the investor class. If you're in the
Hardly.
stock market, you're part of the investor class.
But the investor class are people that live off of that. That is their livelihood.
Oh, like
If you got a
retirement people.
401k,
Like retirement
that's
people.
not your livelihood.
It is if you're retiring, isn't it?
Okay. Anyway, they're losing their the globalists. Let's put it this way:
The ones that
are
provide a
losing
lot of
their
jobs.
slaves. We're already having manufacturing moving back to America because of Trump's tariffs.
Well, that's good. And I'm not arguing with you there.
That means middle class jobs for America, but it also means middle class pay for these globalists that have been using Chinese slaves to build their goods, and they're going, wait, what about our slaves? And well, I'm so anti-slavery, it's not even funny. And these people are pro-slavery. They are pissed off that they're losing their slaves.
Watch your language.
I'm sorry, but that's what's happening, and they're revolting. So they're going to pull their money out of the market and make it look bad and try to get their way. And I hope they don't. I hope it doesn't work.
Well, that's one way to look at it. Time will tell.
Well, it sure will.
All right, good enough, Russ. Thanks.
I apologize.
Yeah, that's
again
all right.
for-
Bye-bye.
All right. You have a good day.
All right, and we will take a pause here and then be back with more calls, 989-752-6111. How was your sleep last night? Did you lay awake worrying about your 401k, or did you get some sleep? You would have done well if you were on a sanitary mattress, where you spend, theoretically, a third of your life. You can visit all the so-called sleep stores, or you can rest assured the mattress you're sleeping on is manufactured right here in the Great Lakes Bay region to your specifications. Your time in bed may be cut short by today's demanding world, but you can still get a quality good night's sleep on a sanitary mattress. They feature a 1-hour delivery window of your mattress to your home, and if you have an RV or a boat, guess what? Sanitary Mattress will custom make a mattress for you to your exact size, something the box stores can't do. Visit the Sanitary Mattress Factory and Showroom at 5343 Janes Road in Saginaw, just east of the Harry Brown Airport. Visit them online at sanitarymattress.com or give them a call at 989-753-1757. Sanitary Mattress, serving the Great Lakes Bay region since 1935.
When challenging
Economic Council Director. Again, more than 50 countries reaching out to negotiate. I would expect eventually all of them will, because their markets are impacted too. It's not just us. It's them. Let's go to Midland, and we'll talk to Bruce this morning. Bruce, good morning to you.
Art, there was a lady that called in, a very compassionate lady that, I've had some troubled nights trying to sleep over this Palestinian massacre that's going on. And that dear lady, I don't know if she's aware that, my God, there's 92% of their housing is destroyed. People have to decide whether to use their water to put out a fire or to give their children. People starving, and I'm telling you, one thing that one of the most famous generals in the United States, most decorated general, Smedley Butler, United States Marine Corps, said that war is a racket. And you're going to see that Israel and Wall Street are going to win. And now this making the Riviera of the Gaza Strip there, all of this stuff, human flesh to these killers means nothing. And
it meant nothing to Hamas, who attacked Israel, either, did it?
Oh, they were mistreated for 55 years, and they got one good punch in on Israel.
Just one over these years.
Jean is a compassionate lady, and I'm telling you, there's more people having turmoil overnight. Now, they had this thing on about the blood shortage over there. It's water, it's blood, trying to help these people. And I say, God bless the peacemakers.
Well, absolutely for that. Let's hope peacemakers win.
Yes, and I know that the turmoil that Jean is suffering is suffered by 90% of the people in this country.
I think we also have to understand one other thing, though, and that is this is not new. It's been going on for thousands of years, and we have killed more people in the name of God than almost anything else you can think of on earth.
That, yes, the religion. And now when Smedley Butler wrote his book, War is a Racket, I'll tell you, I just wish he was here again to write another one. But we sure need some good leaders. And so I say pray for our leaders and hope that this will end very soon.
Gotcha.
To say that if Netanyahu wasn't up on charges, it couldn't come to an end. But anyway, he's apparently going, Israel, I mean, there's many fine people over there in Israel. There are Jewish children I've seen protesting, and I am really impressed by a lot of these people that are,
well,
you can't say anything nice about Palestine without being, or sympathetic without being threatened with deportation.
It's not, how can I put it? It's not an easily solved problem, and for millenniums, nobody's figured out how to solve it. I have said, and you have to understand, I'm a Jewish person from New York. I have said for many, many, many years, the Palestinians deserve a state of their own and deserve to be able to live in peace, just in the same way Israel deserves to live in peace and not under threat of attack all the time. Until that happens, I don't think we're going to see a permanent solution. And I'm sorry to say that, but I don't think so, because neither side is willing to give an inch.
One commentator was saying that what Israel's done, a lot of people reflect on the Jewish people and Judaism, and said they have done nothing but give a black eye to Judaism, and it's not fair.
I don't agree I don't agree with that, but that's my view of it. So.
But it's Netanyahu, and they knew that there was an attack coming. Nobody has the intelligence that Israel has, and nobody has an Iron Dome like Israel, and yet he let that happen, and then used it for an excuse to kill.
Well, wait! You said he let that happen. So yes. How would he have stopped it? Attack first?
He knew they.
How would he have stopped it? How would he have stopped it? He wouldn't.
Militarily.
So he would have had to take action. So he would have had to take action before it happened.
But to turn right around, and then when they made their mistake, they let their fences down, their defenses, and then they didn't defend their people.
Well,
and then they. You're always
let's end on this. Let's hope the peacemakers win.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I just, like I say, I know that the turmoil that Jean, that dear lady, tossing and turning every night. Now, the blood donations, we can help by blood donations. That's one thing. And, we're supposed to be able to speak out here. But a lot of the children, students, very honorable, hardworking people trying to get an education can say one good thing about Palestine or suffering over there, and they are deported.
Nobody's stopping speech. Most of those were involved in campus riots and taking over buildings and destroying property. So let's clarify let's clarify what free speech is. and what it's not.
But I just,
So-
I'm telling you that ever since I heard,
I understand
Gene's
that. You
commentary
said,
there,
yep.
and
Gotcha.
I mean to tell you,
All right.
it is in my heart. Thank
All
you.
right. Good enough. Thanks for calling, Bruce. Appreciate it. Jerry and Scott, hang on. We'll get to you after these notes.
When it's time to choose a residual herbicide,
Well, I take example, Nike. They make their tennis shoes in Vietnam, and they're paying $3 to $4 an hour. Now, if they said, I'm going to come back to America, who's going to work for $3 or $4 an hour, and what would be the price of the shoes? I paid $150 for a pair of Brooks that are made in the West Coast, and the only reason I ever spend that much because I had plantar fasciitis.
It's a good shoe. I wear Brooks, too. It's a good shoe.
Right, it's $150.
Yep.
My point is, how do you Nike going to come here? And I don't know. Their shoes are probably $150 right now.
Yeah,
I
and
would
they're
assume.
paying $3 or $4 an hour. So ask yourself this. If Brooks can do it and still sell the shoe for $150, why can't Nike do it?
Well, they got to pay more than $3 and $4 an
Well, don't you
hour.
think Brooks is? Of course
I
they
have
are.
no idea.
Well, of
I
course
have
they.
no idea.
Well, they have to. They're in the United States, right? They're
Well,
in California, where the minimum wage is higher.
I know it. But I just find that if it's $150 with Nike here, it'd be a lot more if it came back to America.
No, I
Because
don't
they-
think so. I don't think it should be. If Brooks can make a shoe in the United States, pay U.S. wages, and sell you that shoe for $150, Nike should be able to do the same thing.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It sounds good.
But let's prove it. That's my.
Well, that's the thing. And time will tell. We'll see what we get back and what they charge.
Yeah. Well. Anyway. All right.
All right. Good enough, Jerry. Thanks.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye now. And Scott is in Saginaw. Scott, good morning.
Well, you hit that one out of the park, Art. That was a good comeback there.
Well, it's
I
true.
wanted to call about your other caller there who was talking about Palestine. I'm just going to zero in on one thing he said. He after he said that the Palestinian people were oppressed for 50 years, that they got one good punch in on Israel.
Yeah,
And when I
it's
thought
not-
about that,
it's
that's
not,
what he said.
yeah,
they got
it's-
one good punch
It's
in.
not true, though.
Well, but that's what he said.
Right.
And so for this man, one good punch is rape, murder, holding hostages for months, using fear, terror. I can imagine that caller probably votes Democrat because he thought that was a good
Well, I'm
move.
not going to get into this politics. Either,
Well,
I mean, you can put politics aside because the situation over there is not political. It's been that way for thousands of years.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just saying what the man said, I found absolutely appalling to say that that was a good punch to rape and
Oh,
murder.
I
and
don't
go
disagree
after
with you.
innocent people, rape
Yeah.
babies, they rip babies out of women's
Absolutely.
womb. That was sick. And
That
I
was-
didn't even want to call today, but I
But
just couldn't
that's
believe the
my
man
point.
said that.
That was my point because it's, you know, first of all, you know, it's we're not going to solve this problem over there. I've said, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I've said from my standpoint, I think the Palestinians should have their own country and choose their own leadership. And I don't care if that leadership's Hamas, as long as that leadership respects the right of other nations like Israel to exist in the same way. Because that's the only way it's going to get settled over there.
Well, that's a nice theory. The only
Well,
problem
it is a theory,
where
exactly.
Do you get, where do you get the land?
Well, they already have the land. They already have the
Well,
land. They
is it-
have Gaza. They
is it-
have all of that. You can name it a state. Why can't you? If you can call it Gaza, why can't you call it Palestine?
Well, but do the Palestinian people own that land, or are they settling on the land? I really don't know.
I don't know. No more than Israel.
Yeah, well,
When you think about it,
well, all of us are.
when you
well.
think about it, I mean, it was divided up.
Yeah, well,
So
well,
I
it-
just
well,
I just think, you know, it's a sad situation, and there's been a lot of death and destruction, not just recently, but over decades and millenniums. And I'm not smart enough to solve the problem, I guess. And apparently
Well, I
nobody
think we
else
can
is.
Well, I think we can agree on this. Death and destruction isn't going to solve it.
That's true. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
All right, Art.
All right,
I'll let
Fred.
you go. Thank you.
Have a good one.